Welcome back, everyone, to These Aren't the Nerds You're Looking For. Kevin Horde here, accompanied by...
Lorenzo Fon. How you doing?
Good. Thanks for asking, Lorenzo. How are you?
Good, yeah.
So
to talk about,
Yep.
part 2 here.
Part 2 of the Malevolence trilogy, we'll call it. This is Season 1, Episode 3 of the Clone Wars. It is titled Shadow of Malevolence. Original air date is October 10th of 2008. Production code 109.
The fortune cookie was interesting on this one because I told you when I made the note, I'll read the fortune cookie first and then the short story with it. But the cookie goes, easy is the path to wisdom for those not blinded by ego.
Yes.
When I was referencing it, I kind of opened up Wikipedia to be able to write all this stuff down. The Wikipedia lists it as for those not blinded by themselves.
Yeah, so I also ran across this, and what I saw was that when it aired on TV, it was one, and on the DVD, it was the other one.
Oh, is that what that is?
So that's what Wikipedia said.
Ew.
Now, I watched the DVDs.
Yeah.
And the DVDs said not blinded by ego. So then I fired up Netflix and checked that because you had already sent me that message saying,
yeah,
hey, check this out. There's a fucking goof here. Netflix also said blinded by ego. So I'm thinking that what am I thinking?
When they shifted it for whatever reason they felt the need to.
Yeah, for some reason they changed themselves to ego, and the version that I'm watching, and it looks like the version that is on Netflix, is again like a director's cut version of this episode. So I'm thinking that when it originally aired on TV, it was what matches Wikipedia.
Mm-hmm.
Anything after that is director's cut, DVD, it listed Blu-ray as having the change, and it looks like Netflix matches the director's cut from the DVD.
Yeah.
That has the change to what we saw, which is easy as the path to wisdom for those not blinded by ego. So I did not see any descriptive reasoning as far as why the verbiage was switched up there. Mm-hmm. But that is the additional information that I had.
All right. Interesting. Yeah, I didn't see that part, but it was just curious. It was one of the few times where I wrote it down, and when the episode played, I was like, I guess I got to scratch this part out. Like, so anyway, so what's going on in this episode?
So our newsreel starts with just kind of a recap of Rising Malevolence. So to run through that briefly, basically there was the Separatist had some sort of fucking secret weapon, right?
Yeah. Which turned out to be an ion cannon. Jedi Master Plo Koon had went to investigate, figured out what it was because he got shot by it. So what this weapon does is it just magically disables ships. Most things on them, not necessarily all of them. Yeah. But like electrical systems, communication systems.
Yeah, it seems to just kind of short out
the
anything
ability
electrical,
to fly.
basically.
Yeah.
So,
so that's out there floating around, which is the Malevolence. So,
and then, along the way, Anakin basically comes in, saves his ass, and they fly off into the sunset. So that brings us to the beginning of this episode. which shows Anakin formulating this plan of how they're going to go in and take the Malevolence out, right? Because they discovered where this badass weapon is, what ship it's attached to, what to expect when they're fighting against it, They've kind of got a little bit of info, and they're not just flying blind in.
Yeah, they know what to expect this time, essentially.
Correct.
So they're planning this counterattack, but the plan is to try and take out Grievous himself too, right? They want to kind of do a twofer where they're kind of disabling the ship, but then taking out Grievous, which would be a high up.
Yeah, and it's almost equated. It's almost like a 1-to-1 equivalent. I think when Anakin is talking about it, he says, "Take out Grievous, and the ship will fall too." Like if they kill Grievous, then the ship will be rendered useless. Which those two things don't coincide.
No,
but
they want to take out a high-ranking general, essentially.
Right.
And, because Anakin's like, hopefully then it'll shorten the war, blah, blah, blah,
Right. So, again, I'm going to bring up that question that we've asked numerous times throughout this season already. How long after Rising Malevolence does this episode take place? So, we saw at the end of Rising Malevolence, Anakin and Plo and some clones, fired off through hyperspace to get away from the Malevolence, and then they were on a good dude Star Destroyer, right? End of episode, start of new episode, Anakin, Ahsoka, Plo, some clones are on a good dude Star Destroyer. So how much time has elapsed? Are we talking about overnight here? Everybody took a nap.
Yeah.
Got some R&R.
Yeah, it's definitely not immediate, but it's as little as the next day,
That's kind of what I was getting out of it. Everybody rested up a little bit. Now they're ready to get back out there.
Yeah, no less than a day, no more than a week, sort of thing, right? So it's relatively immediate. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's kind of where I placed it, because they kind of have the projection of the ship and everything. So someone did a lot of recon for all that. So,
right.
So yeah.
So the camera kind of pans down through the main gully of this Republic cruiser. And as I've brought up many times before, it's got some big red garage doors that open up on the top and just drop into this ditch. And as the camera is panning through this, it's relatively empty in the middle, which is cool, and it's got all these bays lining either side. And all of them have their little blue shields, which is totally cool. It's in line with the way that we should be seeing things being shielded to the elements of outer space, or the lack thereof, however that works. I'm not really sure. What caught my eye here is that as Anakin is talking to all these clones, they're just all sitting in a row, right?
Yes, they're kind of hanging out.
There's actual chairs.
Yeah.
So
there's some sort of meeting space set up for them.
Right, Anakin was "Yo, Ahsoka, we're gonna talk to these clones. So what I need you to do is I need you to go find whoever's in charge of the conference room and tell them that we need 24 chairs. Have them bring them out to hangar B-75 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And we're gonna line all those. We're gonna line up some chairs, and then when you're done with that, we'll get the clones. We'll bring them out. We'll have them sit down. Then I'm gonna talk about my plan. Then I'm gonna let you guys know what's going on. And Plo Koon is at this meeting also, although separate from the meeting. It's as though he is there to listen in, but be separate from it completely.
Yeah, he has no say in what's happening. It is definitely Anakin's show.
Right.
And And yeah, it seems like Plo Koon just doesn't want to overstep those boundaries, right? He's just letting Anakin do his thing. Anakin's the man with the plan, so follow that.
And here is his plan step by step.
Mm-hmm.
Use bombers, which are Y-wings. We'll talk about those here shortly. Attack the bridge of the Malevolence. Like, don't worry about the 500 turbo lasers or the 2 super mega ion cannons or those 5 other whatever they were, like the super mega turbo, whatever.
Yeah.
Just, we're going to use bombers, attack the bridge. We're going to kill Grievous. The ship will fall. I guess this means the droids on board just, like, won't know what to do.
Yeah, I guess they lose all sense of purpose immediately.
I guess. So that's speculation on my part. So at that point, Anakin equates killing Grievous to helping end the war sooner. So he's like, all right, let's prepare bombers. And then he asks one or a group of the clones, like, all right, do you guys like this plan? Is everything good? I'm paraphrasing here, but he gives them like a yes-no question. Like, here's my plan. Use bombers, fire up bridge, kill Grievous.
Yeah.
Ship goes bye-bye. How's everybody liking it? We good?
Yeah.
We good? Yes,
this
no?
This is agreeable. Yeah.
Yes.
Like, how are we feeling? Everybody feel good? Yeah.
Right. So.
But there's like, what are you going to do? Change it now? Like,
right.
You know.
So all of the clones are like, all right, yeah, let's do it. All right, cool. Good to go.
Yeah. Right. Like, that's our literal job, is to listen to what you guys want us to do.
Yeah.
Like,
my job is to nod yes and agree with whatever fucking stupid ass plan that you come up with.
And shoot at things, yes.
It's
shoot at whatever you... Yeah.
Right, shoot in the direction of things.
Yeah. That you tell us to shoot towards, yeah.
Not necessarily shoot said things.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
The clones are all gung ho, like, hey, let's do it. Ahsoka and Plo, on the other hand, disagree with this plan, and they're like, all right, so how is it gonna work? Like, what about this? And we don't really like it. Like, don't you think you should do this instead? And Anakin's like, no, fuck you. Like, this is my plan. Like, dude, the clones are on my side. Like, they're cool. Yeah. So this is what we're doing.
Yeah, like it is a sound plan in terms of, like, well, we have a chance to just kill the general, just fucking kill the dude, like,
right,
you know. So, like, that makes sense, you know, that's fine. But yeah, it is a weird twofer of Ahsoka randomly speaking out when there's nothing else prior to this that really lends her character to being that way, right?
I think it's that whole connection with Plo, that he saved her from the gutter trash life, right?
Yeah.
And so Plo's like, I don't know, I've been doing this Jedi thing longer than you, and your plan seems pretty fucking brash and irresponsible, so I'm gonna say no. And Ahsoka's like, yeah, Plo said no, so I'm saying no. Like,
yeah.
what do you think, Plo? Should I like the plan? Should I not like the plan? Like, you don't like the plan? Okay, I don't like the plan.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, she is like a 14-year-old, so
yes, she is 14, unless we have progressed far enough in time for her to age anymore. But that's how old she was when we met her at the beginning of the story.
Yeah.
So,
and we haven't gotten a birthday party yet, so
no birthday party, and we're only like 10% through, so I'm not thinking that
we haven't traversed that far in time yet.
Right.
All right. So so she's just kind of going along with whatever is being laid out in front of her. The clones are with Anakin's side of things.
Yeah,
so then,
it's at this point that we cut back to the Malevolence for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
In this episode anyway. So the reason I was asking how far in the future we are from the last episode is because when you see the Malevolence, usually your perspective is either outside the ship or inside on the bridge, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we cut into the bridge. Everything looks the same. We got the same looking droids in the same places.
Yeah.
Grievous is occupying the same place, the same space on the bridge.
Mm-hmm.
There's like this little elevated kind of platform with a railing around it, right? Which is where Dooku was.
Mm-hmm.
Now we have, instead of Dooku, we have a life-size hologram of Dooku.
Yeah.
So I really feel like we should have done one or the other. We should have either had Dooku as a hologram in the last episode, or we should have Dooku there in this episode. The way this whole thing is set up is that these stories are back-to-back.
Mm-hmm.
And even if it's within a week, like, all of a sudden, like, nah, I don't need to be there. I'll be somewhere else. But I will, the entire time I'm not there, I will be standing in front of a hollow transmission thing.
Yeah.
So that my likeness can be transmitted to the good spot on the bridge of your ship.
Mm-hmm.
And you can still be, like, not on the elevated platform. Like, I'm still taking the elevated spot. And I will waste my time where I actually am, standing here, instead of actually being there.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Like, essentially, he still needs to dedicate the exact same mind power
And amount of time.
to commanding all of these droids. That's not something I noticed in this viewing here. But yeah, now that you bring it up, it is a weird inconsistency that, yeah, depending on how much time has passed, like why is Dooku gone? What is more important than commanding the Malevolence, which is like their flagship?
Right.
You know?
Right.
So I got nothing for you on that one.
Another inconsistency, okay, is Count Dooku in the live-action films was Christopher Lee.
Yeah.
In the Clone Wars movie, the theatrical release, he was voiced by Christopher Lee.
Yep.
Every other time in this series, he's voiced by Corey Burton, whom I'm not super familiar with, but if I was Corey Burton, I'd be fucking pissed. Because we talked about how the movie is 4 episodes put together, right?
Yeah.
And the production code on these were as late as season 1 or like 118.
Yeah.
So was Corey Burton like already involved with I can't fucking speak. Already involved with this whole process, going in, recording his lines and doing this stuff and working with the production, and then George Lucas says, "Oh, well, we're going to take 4 episodes and we're going to make it into a movie and we're going to put them together, and I got Christopher Lee, so he's going to come in and, like, you just, go over there and sit down for a little bit, Corey, like, we'll get back to you." This happens with a couple of the people. Dooku, Mace Windu,
Yeah.
and I feel like the Chancellor as well? Palpatine? Maybe?
Did he go? I think it was
that
just
one I don't
Mace and
remember.
Christopher Lee. I know Samuel L. Jackson and Christopher Lee for sure were the ones that came back for the movie. To your point, though, about the other actors, like, you already know you're in for the series, right? So I don't think he's stressing out that much because it's Christopher Lee,
Yeah.
He is the original. So yeah, if he says yes to the movie, great. I'm still getting paid. Right?
Okay.
Like, I already know my job is safe because Christopher Lee's not doing 6 seasons of the rest of this, right? Like, there's still 20 episodes plus that I need to handle. So the movie I'm going to let go because even if Corey already recorded it, that means Corey already got paid.
Well, I'm just thinking back to like David Prowse, right? Because he recorded all of the fucking lines for Darth Vader.
Yeah.
But it wasn't ADR recording, it was on set recording, right?
Yeah.
From what I understand is he was under the impression that his voice was the voice of Darth Vader and didn't know otherwise until he saw the movie. And then he was like, what the fuck?
Yeah. See, but I've heard that too about David Prowse, but again, the way in which that movie was made and the way in which you know you're making a television show. And it's one thing, because like David Prowse was inside the costume. He thought he was Darth Vader for everything.
Right.
Corey Burton is just a voice. Right? Well, like he got hired as a voice. He's being pulled in for it, you know?
Okay.
So the thing is, you've already been told what you're signed up for. You know, there's no bait and switch where it's like, look, we know you're in the costume, but we just want to supplant your voice with something else. Whereas Corey Burton was brought in and it was like, you are the voice actor for this. You're set there.
Right.
You know, so then, because other movies have definitely had major changes before where, you know, with Shrek, Mike Myers recorded Shrek with his normal voice.
Mm-hmm.
And then like he was the one that made a decision, was like, that voice doesn't feel right. And then like with like a couple months ago, re-recorded every single line in that movie with the fat bastard accent.
Right, with his little Scottish thing.
Yeah. So it just depends. Or other movies too, where other like actors in other movies have totally been replaced entirely. You know, for voiceover.
Jake Lloyd was replaced by Hayden Christensen.
Well, that
I don't know if you knew that, but he was
that one. Yeah. So no, I have no evidence for this, but I can only imagine Corey Burton was just like, that makes sense. That's
fine. I guess I was just totally looking at it from the opposite direction. Yeah. Like, I get it, it's a feature film, but I feel like knowing some of the way that the production worked on this show, that there's just a couple of people, you know, do you think Corey Burton was looking at fucking Matt, what's his name, Lautner or whatever, like, oh, where the fuck is Hayden Christensen? Like, how come you didn't get the shaft? Like, James Arnold Taylor, like, you know, Ewan McGregor's not here.
No way. Yeah. No, I don't think, because here's the other thing too. You have to remember, if Corey Burton is going to be pissy about it,
mm-hmm.
well, then nobody wants to work with him.
Yeah.
Right? So
I think we're just going to need to, like, shoot this guy an email and ask him.
But you know what I mean? Like,
him up on Twitter.
The thing you have to remember is, this is a generalization, and with the way it has gone in the last 6 months, it's harder to tell. But generally speaking, on a movie set, when you're hiring actors for like a live action film, part of it is, yes, you're hiring the best actor that you can. But there's still like a little part of it where you realize you're going to be working day in and day out with this person for anywhere from 8 weeks to 6 months to a year.
Right.
Or for a couple years when you add in like press tours and all that shit, right?
Right.
You know, part of it is like, I don't want to be stuck with this asshole that's going to annoy me for the next 2 years.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's kind of the thing. It's like, I don't think Corey Burton would have been that pissed, because I think he would have been chill about it and be like, oh yeah, Christopher Lee wants to fucking come back in and record lines for this. well, yeah, because I'm essentially taking his part anyways. So,
fair enough.
anyways, that's our spot on.
That's
the
our
business
spot on our
ins-
voice replacement.
Yeah, business
actor
ins and out
replacement.
of voice acting, so and the business, our speculative business end of it. So, yeah,
Okay.
but yeah, but the so back to the scene we're in where
Yes.
Dooku is talking down to Grievous. They were shooting at a few things, right?
Yeah, and so it was, I think, a couple of good guy.
More Star Destroyers, right? Because
Yeah,
the Iron,
but
the
I've
Iron
also
Blast
got
hit again.
Yep, and I've got a note that says 2 blockade runners.
Okay.
So I did a little research into the blockade runner, and remember how I called it a Corvette cruiser, and we were undecided on the differences between these two ships.
Yeah.
A Corvette cruiser, the Tantive or Tantive series, and the blockade runner are all the same thing.
Okay. Yeah.
The ship that you were talking about in Rogue One is called the Lightmaker. This is a Seferna class Corvette. So it is a Corvette class ship with the call sign Corvette 5.
Okay.
So it looks like that and a blockade runner is also a Corvette class ship. So they're kind of different designs of the same type of ship.
They're two different like sports version.
Correct.
Like
the front thing is a little different.
Yeah. It's just a different specific model version of it or whatever.
Correct.
Yeah.
So for all practical purposes, a blockade runner, a Corvette cruiser, the Tantive 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 are all the same style ship.
Yeah. Just the minor differences.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Good to know. The reason I kind of bring up what they're shooting at is because I wrote down this note about this exchange that a couple droids have.
Okay.
I brought it up in the last episode, so we don't have to get into it. But so the ion cannon disables ships, but then they still have to do a cannon barrage to destroy the ships.
Correct.
So then while they're shooting, one of the droids says, well, I still can't hit anything.
Correct.
Even though it's a giant fucking ship in the middle of space that's already dead. It's not even a moving target.
Right, because we know that whenever the electronics are disabled, that means like the space brakes go on and you're
just stops right there.
You're dead in the water, as though space is a giant sea.
Yeah.
With no waves or wake or anything. You just
doesn't keep moving, stops right there.
Right.
So then the droid says that, Grievous gets pissed off, hits the droid's head off, and then Dooku, who's still watching him in hologram form, says not to do that because battle droids are expensive.
Yep, my note is that Dooku lectures Grievous about droids cost and about clones, how the clones don't or the Jedi don't treat the clones like that.
Yeah.
Right?
So I only bring that up because to me, I found this mildly unnecessary. Like, I just don't know what it has to do with anything or why Dooku cares that much, because as we see, like, the droids are continually being made. Both sides of this war essentially have an endless flow of more troopers coming in. That's why, you have the Kaminoans making clones, and then Geonosis is pumping out these droids.
Right. And I feel like this little conversation would be more beneficial if there was some payoff to it, but there's not.
Yeah.
It's not like this isn't a setup for something else.
Nope.
It's a filler conversation.
Yeah.
That does give a little bit of background information, but it's not anything that we didn't know or couldn't infer from other things, right? Obviously, there's a cost, a literal cost of war as being how many Republic credits or fucking Separatist credits or whatever it takes to build a droid. How does that work, by the way? Like, the Separatist, all these systems that are with the coalition of Separatists, I don't even know what it's officially called.
Just all the Separatists.
Right.
Together,
all the Separatists.
Like,
so
yeah.
They have like their own currency now, or do they just still run on Republic credits?
I know they're still running on Republic credits, but they got the
banking clan on their side, so it's feasible that does the banking clan like not do anything with the Republic anymore, and they just gave up.
Yeah, I don't know. Like again, why is there a banking clan? And why is there only one? You know, does everybody bank through the same clan?
Well, we decided it was a clan with a capital K, right? And
like it's just their own random group that kind of went off and was like, "We're the banking clan."
Right.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm still gonna go deposit my Republic credits at my credit union here, so
at your Republic credit union.
Exactly. Yeah, so it's a weird point to bring up and then not get into the further finances of where all this is coming from, like, you know, because that's a deep hole we can get into, because like the Kaminoans, they were building clones for like 10 years, and were they on somebody's bankroll that entire time, or
it would have been the Republic's bankroll?
Yeah, but then if there was just like was it Master Jedi
Sifo-Dyas?
Sifo-Dyas?
Did you just say seafood?
I was thinking Sifu, like Master Sifu.
Oh, yeah. Sifo-Dyas.
Sifo-Dyas. He was like essentially the only one that knew about it, right?
Right.
So then,
well, supposedly, that all gets sketchy because that's another one of those things, like this conversation about beating up droids and how Jedi treat their clones, like it's things that are hinted at and never paid off. Like,
yeah,
Jedi Master Sifo-Dyas does, you know, he's like that Solo fucking, and I'm not talking about Solo the character, I'm talking about like a singular incident where he's talking about in a singular conversation, and that's about it. That's about all you get.
That's all we have. Yeah. So, yeah, we're getting into questions that we will never have the answer, but yeah, are the Kaminoans just moving forward and they're like, oh shit, should we ask somebody if we should get paid for this? No, it's fine, we'll just wait. Even though creating clones can't be cheap, you know. We're farming, it's fine, we still have food on the table, it's okay.
Right. In my actual life, outside of talking about the Clone Wars over the internet to people that I've never seen, right? Yeah. I work in a business where we provide services for people. Okay. Mm-hmm. And some of the jobs that we have require large amounts of material. Mm-hmm. Right? So we need a commitment up front from these customers, mm-hmm. where will calculate material cost and charge a certain percentage up front of that.
Yeah.
You know, we're taking the risk of doing the service, going out and getting the materials, coordinating everything, making sure everything gets done, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the customer has to take the risk of giving part of the money up front so that we can go and do that. And I'm pretty sure that in other industries it works the same.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say in the cloning industry, it should probably be similar, because not only do you have, I would assume there's material cost, right?
Yeah.
And then once these things, so you basically have material cost, then you have like healthcare costs for your materials, which is weird, and that's not something that I've ever had to deal with. I've never had to take care of the health of material. But then once your product is made, then you have to fucking feed it and nourish it and care for it and house it and train it and all this other shit, right? So you've got the Kaminoans have all this upfront cost.
Mm-hmm.
There's got to be compensation coming back to them. There's got to be compensation given to them upfront.
I guess, but nobody's checked these ledgers. Like,
I think that it, I know that I've read stuff about this in old EU.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to keep my comments to canon.
Yeah. Cause like even in the movie, like even Yoda's kind of like shit talking Obi-Wan when he like loses the planet, you know? Oh, the records must be incomplete. And that's impossible. Like,
that whole fucking plot point doesn't make any fucking sense anyway.
So anyways,
couldn't Obi-Wan real quick, couldn't Obi-Wan have just gone to like another fucking library and like looked it up there?
But the Jedi Temple is
it's like the be all end all. It's like the Jedi library is the library that has access to the data in all other libraries. So as soon as you write a fucking book and put it on a shelf in a library wherever, that info is included in the Jedi archives.
Yes.
Right. That's the way that I see some things.
It's the Cambridge Analytica of the Star Wars universe.
Right. But if I were to go remove a book from the shelf, even though it's a digital library that we decided it was a digital library a long time ago, it's not physical books, right? If I were to access digital information, and if I were able to delete that digital information, it doesn't delete that information from every other fucking library that it was in. It should only delete it from the Jedi archives. It doesn't delete it from social consciousness in general.
Yeah.
If Dooku went into the fucking Jedi archives, or if Jocasta Nu was like, you know what? I don't fucking like Dexter Jetster. Like, delete him out of the fucking Jedi archives. It's not like he doesn't cease to exist, obviously.
Yeah, exactly.
And Obi-Wan would still know who he is. So the fact that there's like that Dexter Jetster has been like to this planet or fucking knew about him, like he knew about him from when he was prospecting on Subterrell or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. So
something.
Wouldn't it be likely that there are many people in the Subterrell system that knew about knew about Kamino?
Yeah. Exactly. So. Yeah. So what were we talking about originally? Where were we coming from there?
We were talking about blockade runners, and then we started talking
about the cost of the war.
Yep.
Yeah, no. So I agree with you there, in terms of, deleting a planet makes no fucking sense. Obi-Wan even points out like the gravity around it still points to something needing to be there. So,
and the fact that he would have to fucking ask what that means is fucking stupid. Also.
Yeah.
So but we're
anyways,
not talking about episode.
Attack.
Yeah, we're not talking about Attack of the Clones anymore.
We're going back. So anyways, so the Grievous gets a initiative to destroy a medical frigate.
Yeah, so
facility thing.
My note here is that the new target is now a secret med station.
Yes.
I think the secret med station, it comes, the info probably comes from the normal leak of Sheev.
Yeah.
Palpatine, Sidious, the Emperor, the Chancellor, whatever you want to call him, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's doling out little bits of information when he needs to fucking stir the pot and keep this thing going. It's I suppose interesting that, so in the last episode we're introduced to this secret weapon that the Separatists had.
Yeah.
Now we figured out what the secret weapon is, so they use the secret weapon to attack a secret med facility.
Yeah.
What do you have any info on this med facility or can you describe it in any way, or?
They just show it in the hologram a little bit, and it's a circular sort of building structure ship thing. It has like two spires sticking out the top and bottoms of it.
And the use of it is it's like a VA hospital, right?
Yeah, for all the clones that have been injured in the previous battles, yeah.
Correct. And watching some behind the scenes stuff that is on the DVD, they've got like these little featurettes with Dave Filoni and some of the other people that worked on these episodes. The design of it, if you were to look at it from the top, and you can't see it in the show, after you know the information that this guy is talking about, you can kind of tell, but the design of it, when you look at it from the top, it is the emblem of the Republic, like that semi-wagon wheel shape, it's circular, and that's what it looks like from the top, which I thought was kind of cool. But again, you're never going to be able to, you aren't likely to figure that information out without watching the behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah.
I think I've made it pretty clear before that those are things that I enjoy, that I like, knowing those little details. Somebody took the time to design this thing, both in the conceptual design for the show and theoretically, like Bail Organa's out there fucking raising funds to build this VA hospital that is not only a center to help wounded soldiers, but it's also a signal of the Republic itself.
Yeah, like that's a cool tidbit. My only issue with that is the fact that now that we've jumped back into season 1, I think a few episodes ago I kind of noted, I think like in Clone Cadets or something like that, that the animation had improved because we had forwarded 2 years.
Correct.
But now that we're back into the very infancy of season 1 here, we're back into like that wooden acting.
Also correct.
Kind of mode. Right? So it's cool that detail is in there, but I would have preferred the detail to also be kind of put back into Ahsoka's face, not just being a very obvious, like, she needs to turn left. and we're gonna have her turn 84 degrees, and then stop there. Like,
Right.
you know, it's that's an interesting detail that is there, especially because again, all you see at this point in the episode is that it's just in the hologram, right? And I think we see it a couple times later floating out there.
Yeah, you definitely do see it in physical.
Yeah, we
physical
I know
form.
we get to it.
I mean, obviously, it's not actual physical form in front of you. I mean, you're watching a show.
Yeah, so it's the camera pans to it properly instead of just via hologram.
Correct.
But yeah, so that's a cool detail for sure. It's just weird that somebody took that time to do that rather than focusing on the animation.
Speaking of taking time to do whatever, right?
Yeah.
The Malevolence has been attacking these ships, right?
Mm-hmm.
The fucking Jedi Star Cruiser or the Republic Star Cruiser and a couple of Corvettes or blockade runners or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So they're breaking up and they fire off some escape pods, of course.
Yeah.
And Grievous says, "Oh no, we need to fucking blow those things up. Like I have a reputation to uphold." Because apparently Grievous hates fucking escape pods or something. I'm not really sure. So after that, we jump back to the good guy Star Destroyer.
Mm-hmm.
And earlier today, I was talking about how the plan consisted of hopping in some bombers, which are Y-wings.
Yeah.
So where do you think that these names came from? Like we have many ships modeled off of letters.
Yeah, like English, Arabic.
The names, right?
Letters. Yeah. We talked about this.
We did
in one of the early episodes. That's always been a curious point. Like, it's one of those things I never questioned growing up, just because they're already speaking English, whatever they want to call it, Galactic Basic,
right.
But then once Aurebesh kind of got thrown into it, that's coming up with these names really. I have nothing to explain it, right?
So and I think some of our listeners know that I've been looking pretty heavily into Aurebesh since beginning this thing, and there is a letter in Aurebesh that looks like a Y.
Yeah.
The letter is Vev, which is the V. So it's weird because a V looks like a Y, and a Y looks like a V with like another leg on it. Like if you were to go, you go a V, you go like down one side diagonally and then up diagonally, and then if you were to go over and then like diagonally back down towards the bottom.
Yeah.
That is a Y in Aurebesh, but a V in Aurebesh looks like a Y, so it would more appropriately be called a Vev wing instead of a Y wing. Yeah. And then like there are you could very easily look at the Aurebesh written language and replace X-wing with something else, and Y-wing would be a Vev wing, and an A-wing would be something else, and so I know obviously that back in the 70s when George Lucas was writing Star Wars, that an X-wing had some wings on it that formed an X, and then later Aurebesh came around.
Yeah.
I wonder if there is supposed to be any in-universe canon explanation for why there are English letter terms, I guess, and representations.
High Galactic exists. That's, I think I brought that up the last time we had this discussion, right? So High Galactic exists.
So in High Galactic, is it just A instead of Ara, and B instead of Besh, and C instead of Kresh?
Yeah. So I don't know if they go as far as to like. I just know that the script exists. I don't know if they still refer to each. If the C is still a C, right?
Right.
If the X is still an X. That I have no confirmation of. I just know it exists.
Right.
Because, it's made its way into canon things, and they've had to just explain it off, right?
Right.
So that would be the closest I have of explaining that.
Right.
Without any further research.
So I need to make a note here to look into High Galactic.
Yeah, I think that's what it's called. There is some form of it, of the Arabic letters that kind of make their way in.
Right.
Because they've snuck their way into like comics and stuff like that, and because they are then immediately canonized and there's no going back, essentially.
So I actually, when the first Solo movie trailer came out during the Super Bowl or whatever,
yeah,
there's a shot of Han and Chewie, like, it looks like they're on like a concrete bunker or something, like above a door.
Mm-hmm.
There is some writing there, and like one of the letters is Arabesh, but I don't feel like the other two are. Which is weird because there was a promo that was on YouTube during or before the Super Bowl that was, I don't want to say a generic, but some type of promo picture that had already been released that had Han and Chewie on it and maybe Lando. And then it had like a countdown to the trailer, which the countdown was in just normal fucking numbers.
Yeah.
Then at the top and bottom, or just the bottom, there was Arabesh writing that said, "If you can read this, you win."
Yeah.
And I don't know what the fuck you're supposed to be able to win, but so somebody involved with Solo was able to use Arabesh and like type out an entire fucking message, but then in the movie there's a fucking door with nonsense written. Like there's like 3 or 4 characters, and like one of the characters is Arabesh and the other 3 look like alien language but aren't Arabesh. Again, I know we're way far off topic here.
High Galactic. When it comes to trailers, though, I don't consider any trailer canon until that movie is out. So
fair enough.
With that, I'm going to leave that one be, because that is high speculation on shit that may or may not be in the final product.
That's
such as every single Rogue One trailer that ever existed. So
that is totally fair enough.
Yeah,
so
that I don't even want to get into, just because it's like, especially with the production of that movie,
right, there's things jumping around all over the place.
Yeah, I'm amazed they had lights up for it, like. So let's get back into the Y-Wings. Yeah.
Yes. So that being said, they're going to be taking some Y-Wings.
Yes.
There's a plunk droid walking around. That's like a 4-legged gonk droid.
Yeah.
Ahsoka ends up riding bitch for Anakin.
Yep.
She's got to be his gunner, and so they have like a little exchange of, oh, why do I gotta be a gunner? Like, can't I have my own ship or whatever?
Yeah. Again, she's 14, but is really pissy that she doesn't get her own ship, which is
Yeah, and she also
I don't know
acts
where
like
she gets
she
off
didn't.
on that. Like,
She also acts like she didn't know what the plan is. Like here in the same scene, Plo Koon comes up and he asks like, "Hey, can I run gunner for you?"
yeah,
And I'm gonna fucking run security or whatever.
yeah. Like
And
this isn't shit that gets decided right then and there. It's been decided. Like,
well, so Anakin's like, "Yeah, that's fine," and Ahsoka says, "We already got your ship ready." So it's like she knew that Plo Koon's ship was ready to go because he was gonna play tag along sheriff
Yeah.
or whatever, but she didn't know that she was gonna be the gunner in Anakin's ship and just
Yeah.
expected to like have her own ship. So either she's not paying attention because she's young and got some ADD shit going on or something, or Anakin is deliberately like not giving her all the information, and she's like really adept at collecting information, so she knows part of it. So Anakin either doesn't want to tell her, or she only fucking pays attention to what she wants to pay attention to. So that being said, we got our setup of all the good guys. They got their Y wings. We got Plo in some ship that is set up ready to go.
Yeah.
We're gonna cut back and forth between this medical facility and this group of Y wings, right?
Mm-hmm.
So far we have gotten through step 1 of the plan, which is get bombers and head to bad guy ship, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and they have an idea that it's targeting medical transports and various ships and stuff. So they make an educated guess at the next one, right?
I think so.
That's kind of what was happening. I mentioned in the last episode that I had something regarding light speed to mention, and this is kind of where it's coming up. Because Grievous is headed to the secret medical base. Yeah. And then he's talking to Dooku via hologram, and he's like asking about the transit time to get there.
Right.
And I think Grievous or somebody mentions that they're light speeding around a nebula.
I've got a bunch of notes on this, so yes. All of everything you're saying is correct.
So this is what I wanted to bring up last time. When you're light speeding, as far as I've always known before, you're traveling in a straight line from point A to point B.
So, do you remember when we talked about the hyperspace lanes?
Yes. Yeah.
That Jabba the Hutt is supposedly gave permission for us to use for the good guys to use some hyperspace lanes, right?
Yeah.
And then we talked about how the only way that would make sense is if there was like some gravity well generator type of technology to remove ships from hyperspace and pull them back into real space.
Yeah.
So Jabba's going to say, no, we're not going to do that. We'll let you be.
Mm-hmm.
By definition, hyperspace, like, if there was a hyperspace lane over my house,
Mm-hmm.
If something was traveling through said hyperspace lane over my house, that they wouldn't be there long enough for me to be able to detect that they're there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it's hyperspace. So with this nebula, what I'm thinking is that the tube that used to go there had to be bent and moved around the nebula so they don't go through the nebula and experience the bad gravity that would do damage to the ship.
Mm-hmm.
So I can accept that. What I can't accept is the rest of the things that happen in this episode.
Yeah.
By where Anakin takes this group of people. We're probably skipping some stuff here, but I think that's okay.
No, that's fine.
Anakin takes these group of clones, and he's trying to race Grievous to this med facility, right?
Yeah.
To the VA hospital. He does this by going through hyperspace, then getting out of hyperspace and taking a quote unquote shortcut through this nebula gas.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't care what type of shortcut you're trying to take. You can't drop out of hyperspace and fly through. You can't get off the highway and drive through a field and get there faster than a single person traveling on said highway around the field.
Yeah.
Because it's not as though there's hyperspace traffic.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a little bit longer route through hyperspace, but you're already traveling.
Like somebody's already speeding down the freeway at 80 miles an hour.
Right.
Making this loop. You're going 80, then you get the off-ramp, and then you're going 10.
Right.
And the idea is Anakin going 10 miles an hour through some rough terrain.
Correct. Is faster than staying at 80 miles an hour.
Yes.
Around said terrain.
Yeah, there's no traffic jam. There's no accident. You're still just flowing 80. Right.
The only way this would work is if the nebula was like 100 billion fucking light years wide.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But in that case,
like you're driving to.
Why couldn't you just go over the nebula or under the nebula? Like the Z axis is not accessed.
Yeah.
As a means of transportation a lot of times. Which is what you were talking about with the ion cannon last week.
Yeah.
Like it fires out and people just run away.
Yeah. People traverse on the same two-dimensional plane.
Right.
Like not even three. They don't even worry about left and right. They're just forward and back. That's all they got.
Right.
Right. So, yeah, I agree. And then from the visualization that we see of this nebula, it does look to be a somewhat...
It's like a big dust cloud.
Yeah, it's just a big dust cloud, but like you said, it doesn't look particularly wider than it does tall.
Right. It's...
Right. Like, spherical is not the right word, but in terms of, like, a gaseous orb of shit...
Right.
It's not like it doesn't seem to be particularly wide. It's not plated out, per se.
I would say it's more cubical, if anything.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Because it's not as though it is rounded, but as soon as you get to the nebula, if you go up or down or left or right, you have to go the same distance to get out of it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
yeah, I have nothing to explain why this is a shortcut, or again
the whole shortcut thing doesn't really make any fucking sense. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, yeah, because like the moment they get into the fucking nebula, they start to experience so many fucking issues.
Right. So once they get into the nebula, Ahsoka's like, "Oh, how did you know about this?" And Anakin says, "All the fucking smugglers used to talk about it on Tatooine.
Mm-hmm.
It's called the Balmorra Run."
Yeah.
So this saves them like 3 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, if we were to extrapolate all of this out, if we were to unpack like all of this fucking time and whatever is going on, and because we're jumping back between plots A, plots B, right?
Mm-hmm.
If we were to assign like a time value to all of this stuff and try to develop some sort of in real life timeline, this is saving a half an hour. Like, this is minutes, maybe hours, but it's not something substantial enough that smugglers would need to take this shortcut all the time. Like, it's not a shortcut due to... It's not a shortcut due to...
It's a
security activity or whatever, right? And it also sounds like General Grievous is like, oh, fuck, like, this thing's in the way, so we have to go around it. Like, normally we would just go straight through. So...
Well, it's like driving over the bridge where you know there are always police officers stationed there. Mm-hmm. Or driving your fucking car through...
The river,
which you know is gonna fuck shit up, but like the determination is like, well, I'd rather risk my car getting flooded than driving where the police are.
I like the bridge river analogy, but there are no police on the bridge.
Yeah, so.
It's driving through the river because the bridge goes over the river instead of just driving over the bridge. Yeah. Because it goes over the river.
Yeah. Like you're saving the one... Or it's...
You're not saving anything. There's a risk-reward thing here, and it's like, just stay on the fucking road.
Yeah.
And... go around the block instead of trying to fucking crash through everything here because
the riverbed and and the fucking fish life of the said
thing. The fish life. Like, not only are we smashing through... And not only are we driving through a river instead of going over a bridge, but going through this nebula, Plo starts to freak out when he's like, what, the Balmorra Run? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And so I think it's Ahsoka says, like, oh, I'm detecting something. Oh, I'm detecting something else, and they're big, and I'm detecting something else, and oh my god. So we are introduced to these... giant space creatures.
Yep.
Called giant Nebrae mantas.
Yeah.
Did you look into these?
I did not. No, I just wrote down Nebrae mantis, and Plo Koon points out that they won't leave the nebula, which I don't understand the biology of these creatures based on the information given here.
I don't understand the biologies of these creatures either, but I can tell you what Wikipedia told me about them.
Yeah.
So the Nebrae are found in the following locations. They are found in space, particularly in nebulas. They are found on the Rishi moon, which is outside. I would assume that the Rishi moon is in the Rishi maze, which is close to Camino, because Camino is located outside the Rishi maze, right? They are found on Rugosa, which is the moon of Toydaria, and they are found on Tatooine, specifically flying over Jabba's palace.
Okay.
So these things are related to two other types of creatures in the Star Wars universe. One is called Tibides, and these average 16.17 meters long. So that's 50 feet-ish.
Yeah.
And weigh about 750 kilograms, which is... I don't remember the way the kilogram-pound conversion works. Is that 300 and something pounds? Anyway.
Yeah.
They're about 50 feet long. The things that we're seeing in this nebula are probably closer to like 100 feet.
Yeah, they seem massive.
So the
Yeah.
Tibides are about 50 feet, and then they're also distantly related to Minox, which are 6 feet.
Okay.
So these things that can survive in space and float around like space manta rays with heads and faces are related to Minox and are also seen flying over Jabba's palace on Tatooine.
All right.
So,
The weird part about these Nibres is that one of the Y-wings kind of scrapes by them, and it totally like fucks up the engine of the Y-wing.
Okay.
So they seem to have some ridiculously rigid skin despite flapping around.
Well, I think they would have to be able to survive in the vacuum of space.
I guess, but they show them as they're still kind of ebbing, right? Like it doesn't their skin doesn't look rigid based
Like
on how they're
undulates.
moving. Yeah,
Right.
based on how they're moving, but when the Y-wing like bumps into it,
So is it like a super tough leather type deal?
I don't know. Again, based on like the animation that's showing, like we don't get the detail of what that surface looks like, despite the fact that it shows the Y-wing scraping by and like it sparks the engine of the Y-wing. Yeah, but
Right. So leather doesn't really create sparks.
right, yeah. See, so like that was what was confusing to me, was that it just showed these two surfaces contacting, and then there was a reaction that again my mind was not able to process entirely.
Yeah,
But it affects the story, like
I missed that. Like I knew that there was a Y-wing that was damaged. But I didn't see I didn't see how that happened.
yeah, it's just because one kind of clips this Nibre mantis as they're flying around.
Right.
Yeah, because they're all kind of like flying spread out at first, and the one guy is like freaking the fuck out. He's like, "Oh God!" And then sparks happen, and then that's when Anakin then tells them to fly in like single formation. So they're all like lined
in like
up.
single file.
Yeah, they're lined up in single files like a giant snake, essentially, a giant worm.
And they kind of stay like that for the rest of the episode, don't they?
At least through the nebula, yeah. They're sticking that way through the nebula, because, or they're speeding out of there because they're worried like that one guy is gonna fuck shit up. The guy that messed up his Y-wing.
Yeah, and he's claiming the whole time that he's good.
Yeah. But they show it like smoking the whole time, like
Right. Plo Koon's like following up the rear. So that is. We're introduced to a bunch of clones here in this episode. 3 of them have a name, and then like a bunch of other ones have just kind of like an assignment, I guess we'll call it, because there's this is Shadow Squadron, which is the group of Y-wings that are flying with Anakin. And they're essentially Shadow 1 through 12. But there's Matchstick, who is Shadow 2. Broadside is Shadow 3. And then there's a guy named Tag. He's not necessarily given a specific shadow number. Like, you only hear 2, 3, 4, 7, 11, 12, 6, and 10. So there's some that you don't hear. But at one point in this, there's an error of clone armor. Okay. And you were talking about the clone that is fucking in this. So there's the ship that's fucked up, right?
Yeah.
They cut to an interior shot of that cockpit 3 times.
Yeah.
And the first time is earlier in the episode when they're going through. I think Anakin's like, all right, Shadows, like, report in. They're like, Shadow 2 standing by, Shadow 3 standing by, Shadow 4 standing by, blah, blah, blah. And they go through. That's where I got this list of 2, 3, 4, 7, 11, 12, right?
Yeah.
6 and 10 talk later in the episode. So you see Shadow whatever number.
Yeah.
Later, somebody's Plo Koon says, "Hey, Shadow 2, you doing all right?"
Mm-hmm.
It cuts to the inside, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm doing good." But the trooper that they actually show when they cut to it inside is either Shadow 11 or Shadow 12. Like, they look the same. Their helmet markings look the same.
Yeah. Shadow
2, who is Matchstick, has very unique markings on his helmet. He would be the one that had that had the bantha horns. He would be the one that has, like, the full fucking wolf painting if he was wolf, but he's Matchstick, right? So it's a different clone that we haven't seen, but fully ornate markings on his helmet.
All right.
So Shadow 2 is Matchstick. You've heard from him before. And then Plo
calls out,
"Hey, Shadow 2, you doing all right? Like, you're fucking smoking down there. Like, everything good?" And he's like, it cuts to the inside, and he's like, "Yeah, no, everything's good," but it's not. It's the wrong clone.
Yeah.
Fully animated, like everything's good. And then the next time that we see that Y-Wing, we see an interior shot. It's Matchstick. It's Shadow 2. So
just for that one line, they kind of...
Yep.
Yeah, they just miscalled out. Yeah, good catch, because I did not notice that at all. Like
I saw it, and I was like, wait a second. So I snapped a picture of it, and I'm like, I'm not going back now, but I'll go back later.
Yeah.
And then make sure, align all these clones up. And, things that happen in editing or whatever, but that seems like in a show that is computer animated like this, and there's multiple levels of rendering, and the shit has to go through more than just one set of hands to get all the way through all of that and have one segment that has audio, that has a person called out by name, and for it to be the wrong design.
Yeah. Also
is some pretty thick commitment.
Yeah, because also, as we discussed last week, Plo Koon has a face mask, so it wouldn't be hard to re-record a different call signal.
Not at all. And all the fucking clones have helmets on, so it's not like you need mouth sync.
Yeah.
To any of these characters in this situation.
Exactly. So it would have been so easy to just be like, oh, wait, Shadow 2 is Matchstick, and that's the one unique looking motherfucker. Let's just have Plo Koon call out any other number that we know is one of the more generic clone troopers.
But it's spoiler alert, by the time you get to the end of the episode, you know that Matchstick dies.
Yeah.
So what happens moving forward is, like, Matchstick is like, no, I'm good. Mm-hmm. They get through the nebula, like, crisis averted. They're out of the fucking snake pit, whatever. Yeah. As soon as they get through the nebula, Grievous comes out of hyperspace. Mm-hmm. Then there's some battle going on there. So Anakin's like, yo, stay in the snake formation, follow me. They get the blast of the ion cannon, and finally, like, Anakin knows, like, hey, here's what I got to do. and instead of flying away from the thing, they just do like a wave motion and fly up and over it.
Yeah. Yep.
So Matchstick's Y-Wing gets like clipped.
Mm-hmm.
So it like shuts his thing down. His Y-Wing hits another Y-Wing and like takes that one out. So we're down from 12 to 10. Then there's another 3 that didn't make it through.
Mm-hmm. They got caught in the blast, yeah.
So they're in like ship comas.
Yep. So 7 left that are still functioning.
There's 7 left. And what happens after that? Hang on just a second.
So then Grievous launches some fighters of his own off of the Malevolence.
Okay.
Then they're doing their dogfight out in the middle of space there, but then Grievous decides to start firing from the Malevolence, like all the major cannons and stuff, into the battle.
Right.
And the droids are like, yeah, but we're going to hit our own fighters. And Grievous is like, I don't fucking care. Just shoot and take down their fighters by any means necessary.
Right.
So then he starts just fucking destroying his own fleet of fighters. A few more of Anakin's get destroyed in that carnage.
Yep, there's 2 more that drop off, so we're down to 5.
Yeah. And then this is about when Anakin kind of takes those 5 and they start headed towards the bridge of the Malevolence to try and follow through on that original plan.
Right.
Right? But the ion cannon starts charging back up. It's starting to be aimed at the medical ship.
Yeah, which this ion cannon has like a refractory rate of like instantaneous, which I thought was kind of surprising.
Yeah.
You would think that something like that would take some time to build up a charge or something, but it totally doesn't. Like, they can just fire, and Grievous can be like, yo, do it again, and then they can like do it again.
Yeah, like they show like a few more switches being flipped to kind of sort of show that it's charging, but essentially it's like it's ready to fucking go.
Right.
Yeah.
So then something happens to the Malevolence where the hyperdrive is disabled.
I don't think I even caught that.
Yeah. Okay. So instead of going to the bridge, like Anakin gives up on like, we'll blow up the bridge, and because Ahsoka's like doubting the plan, like, hey, it's not gonna work, and he's like, dude, chick, I'm a dude, bro, like I got it, like what, we're gonna do it.
The plan will work. The plan will work. Yeah.
And along the way, he gives up going to bomb the bridge. And what he does instead is they target the 2 main ion cannons, right?
Yeah.
And what it looks like is they fly in between, like, what would be the plate. Like, if the ion cannon were a big circle plate, like, stuck to the outside of the ship with some components that, like, go inside through tunnels and shit or something, is what this kind of looks like. And they fly like in between the ship and this big round plate. And they drop some bombs, boom, boom, bang, bang, pew, pew, all that jazz. And it blows up the ion cannon. So it destroys the 2 primary weapons, right? So at this point, they started with 507 means of defense, and they're down by 2. So they still have 505. They just don't have their big ion cannon. But something that they did here disables the hyperdrive, so the ship can't just like fucking run away through hyperspace or something. At this point, Obi-Wan shows up with some good guy Star Destroyers.
Yeah.
And starts, playing the help out game. It's to be noted that I think on the medical ship, the the space VA hospital, there was like 500,000 fucking. Was it 500,000 or 60,000? 60,000 is what it was.
60,000, yeah.
60,000 injured clones. So
Yeah.
they had kind of a funny way of evacuating them, where there's a female Kaminoan.
Yeah.
That is, by the way, not like overly done up with Camino breast implants and other things that we saw the last time we saw a female.
Yeah.
From Camino. She's talking to one of the clones, and she's like, yeah, we got a bunch that are like in back to tanks, like they're just fucked. We got some in wheelchairs, like they're too hard to move, so just like leave them. Like the disabled ones, like they're not gonna get off, like it's not worth trying to help them. So it's basically like the dudes with like bumps and bruises that she's like, yeah, put them on the ship, like they're good. The rest of them, fuck it. It seems like going backwards. Like, I've never evacuated a hospital, but I would think that the patients that are critical and like
you're trying to help them ICU, out first because they can't go themselves. Yeah,
right. Like they take the most care, so you're dealing with them first.
Yes,
instead of because she's like completely the other way around.
Yeah, because the ones that can like walk, they'll get themselves.
Right, like escape. Dude's got a broken arm and in a sling, but he's still able to like stand up and like help the guy with a broken leg, and they can both walk or hobble out the door or whatever.
Yeah, you guys hobble. We're gonna take command of this bed and start rolling this bed because the bed's not gonna fucking roll itself.
Right.
To an escape pod. Yeah. So. Yeah.
So the priorities there were kind of wonky, but Yeah, so Obi-Wan shows up to lend a helping hand here. Big surprise. My actual note was, enter good guy Star Destroyer. I bet that's Obi-Wan. It's Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan concerned for Annie. Anakin sad. Obi-Wan congratulates him for his success.
Yeah.
Which is like, weird.
It's mission complete, but not mission accomplished, right? Like,
right.
So, yeah, that.
So, Obi and Annie talk for like briefly. They have this little interchange, and then Obi-Wan says probably the weirdest thing that I've ever heard him say before or since, and he says, "Ahead, full."
Yeah.
Like full speed ahead. But his verbiage is ahead, full. Like, I'm not paraphrasing or anything. He simply looks at the clones and says, ahead, full. And then that means that they're going to go closer to the Space VA hospital and help out.
But the VA hospital got saved essentially, right? Like it didn't get it got a few barrages.
Yeah, there's essentially no casualties from
the Malevolence
of the Space VA, right?
Yeah. So what are they gonna go do? Like just double check that the dude with the broken arm still has a broken arm? Like,
right? They're gonna be like, what the fuck, man? We evacuated like 30,000 because I think at one point she says like half of them are clear. Yeah. So you got like one person of Camino at the Space VA taking care of 60,000 fucking clones.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey, you just gotta delegate the workout. That's as long as you can handle that. But
so at this point we're pretty close to fucking wrapping up, right?
Yeah, I think we're pretty much covered with all the major plot points here of this episode. So
it's basically just what's left. How the Malevolence gets away. How does that happen?
Basically, yeah, it just starts flying away, and the good guys are kind of focused on making sure the injured are also okay. But
so it just kind of limps off, right?
Yeah.
I would imagine that since the next episode that we're gonna get to next week has Malevolence in the title, that we're gonna be able to learn a little bit more about Malevolence.
Yeah. So,
and seeing as it's called Destroy Malevolence,
yeah,
we might be able to wrap up this storyline next week. So, yeah, the troopers that are left go to a good guy Star Destroyer and land. And then we got the, those magical Y-Wing, X-Wing ladders that just kind of appear on the outside of the ships when they do land so people can climb down. And there's definitely some weird perspective ratios going on.
Yeah.
Which I'll just leave it at that. At that point, so then Annie climbs down off his thing, and he's talking to Plo, and he's talking to Ahsoka, and that kind of wraps up their little chit chat, and everybody's happy and they're walking around. I do have a note that says, Lorenzo, if you want proof that Ahsoka's got a belly button, here it is.
I noticed that, actually, yeah. Which immediately grossed me out. Like, again, she's 14. From a real world perspective,
Mm-hmm.
I want to know. You brought it up. It goes through so many hands, all of these decisions.
Right.
So somebody was like, oh, what if we had like a 14-year-old be a Padawan? Great. We'll create this character. What should this 14-year-old wear? A tube top and a mini skirt. Great. I see nothing wrong with that.
And tights. She does have tights on.
Still, like, there's a lot of skin happening for a 14-year-old.
She's definitely full midriff exposed.
Oh, yeah. So, I still have concerns about that there's no further development of concerns. It's the same concern that has been present with every time she shows up.
So maybe it should have been like Isla Sakura that found her, because this is how Isla Sakura dresses. And then maybe Ahsoka could have been like looking up to Isla Sakura.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's Plo Koon, and
Which only makes it more creepy, I guess.
do you know why it's Plo Koon?
No.
It's Plo Koon because Dave Filoni's like favorite Jedi is Plo Koon.
So just want to put more
Like,
Plo into.
Right. So Dave Filoni brought Ahsoka into the Star Wars universe, aka Plo Koon brought Ahsoka into the Jedi universe.
Well,
before Dave Filoni got this job on the Clone Wars, like 2 years before, whatever, I don't know when all this shit started. This would have come out in 2008, so you figure they had to have been working on it a couple of years. So say he got the job in 2006, 2005-ish. We'll give it like a 3-year production.
Like right after Revenge of the Sith was ending, they were trying to figure out what else to do.
So like Comic-Con San Diego, 2004, Dave Filoni had a homemade Plo Koon cosplay outfit that he wore there. And then like fast forward a couple of years and he's executive producer on the Clone Wars animated show.
Mm-hmm.
That's why Plo Koon is a big part of the Clone Wars. Dave Filoni's favorite Jedi.
Just because Dave made it so. Dave wanted it so.
Right. That's why Plo Koon's fucking clones that he works with. It's like Anakin's got Rex. Obi-Wan's got... Why am I blanking on Obi-Wan's?
I got nothing.
I'm terrible.
I got nothing on that one.
Anyway, Plo Koon's is Wolf. Because Dave Filoni loves wolves, right? Which is where
yeah.
The
wolves come and play later. Yep. The wolves
jazz.
come back later.
So I mean, so that's why.
Okay.
So your question of costuming is especially poignant because it could have been explained away using other characters and in this original mentorship thing. Like Plo Koon is somebody that Ahsoka looks up to because it was because of him that she was introduced into this larger Jedi world, right? The world of the Force. And if that would have been a different Jedi, some other things, be it her attire, fighting style, or other, could have been explained away.
Yeah.
But because that's not the case, more questions can come out of that.
Yeah. But again, it's just the idea that, again, from a real world perspective, this is a show that they're gearing towards children.
Right.
So then to put this in front of children and say, hey, this is fine. You want to wear a tube top? Have at it, 6-year-olds.
Right.
You know, like, that's the ongoing concern I have about her design choices.
Right.
So, yeah. So, anyways, there's not much else we can get out of that.
Do you got any more notes to wrap all this stuff up?
Not really. That's kind of where I ended. So, I ended with just that they shot down the thingy instead of they shot down the ion cannon instead of the bridge, which I'm still. Do you think that is the correct choice?
I think that in the midst of battle, yes, that they needed to disable the weapon as opposed to going for the kill, because if you've got a chance to take out this weapon, you need to take it as opposed to ignoring what brought you there in the first place for a bigger goal.
My only question is, if you take out the bridge, wouldn't that, as according to Anakin's original plan, kind of take out the rest of the ship in terms of there's nothing steering the ship after that point, yeah? Like, they can just kind of...
Couldn't they come in and grab the ship and take the fucking thing off and put it on another ship?
Essentially, right? Like,
and or what if you got one run at attack, right? So you can either try to damage the weapon, or you can try to take out the bridge.
Yeah.
Where is your percentage of success higher? And or next question, if Grievous wasn't on the bridge, would you even fucking worry about it, or would you just go straight for the weapon, which was your main goal to begin with? Like, what if that's General fucking Chad?
Yeah.
Right? Do you give a fuck about General Chad? Probably not. Well, you're like, I'm here to take this weapon out. I don't give a fuck about Chad. But you get there and you're like, I'm here to take this weapon out. Oh shit, Grievous is here too. Let's ignore the weapon and we'll go to Grievous. Like,
yeah. Well, no, because like here's kind of my point. If we kind of distill this down to pirate ships, right? And the pirate ships are just shooting cannons out the left and right, you know.
Yes.
Out both sides of the fucking ship, right?
Okay.
But they got one giant cannon, right?
Okay.
So you see the bridge. You see a dude fucking steering the ship, right?
Right.
He's controlling the rudders, all that shit. So if you take that dude out, the ship's going to kind of careen off on its own, right?
But the cannon's still going to work.
The cannon's still going to work, but it suddenly loses the ability to aim at the other floating ship that it was originally aiming towards. Yeah.
Okay.
So then the ship loses that control. Doesn't it then kind of make it easier to take over the rest of the ship instead of letting it like hobble off? Like, yeah, you destroyed the cannon, but it's still sailing away now. Right?
Okay.
And the cannon's still on there. They'll fix the cannon, right?
Okay.
Because, like, the idea is, do you just take the whole ship, components and all?
Right.
Or sink it, you know?
You'd sink it.
Or something like that. But to just destroy that one cannon, but then let it go off with the components still in hand? Right?
Yeah, I think we'll have to reserve judgment for... or until the end of the next episode.
The following episode, yeah. That
Seeing
makes
as,
sense.
you know, we know that this storyline is supposedly going to be wrapped up next
In
week.
The following one, yeah.
So
that's a good point. Yeah.
We'll have to see how they deal with it next week. You know, if next week they're like, "Oh, let's go back and like shoot the fucking turbo lasers out." Like,
yeah,
that's a good plan.
Yeah. All right. So let's wrap this one up then. What did you think of this episode overall?
I am torn here.
Yeah.
Because initially I gave it a thumbs up.
Mm-hmm.
But today, sitting down and talking about it for the past hour and a half,
yeah,
I knew that I had given it a thumbs up, and as I was talking, I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to justify giving this episode a thumbs up when I'm saying all of these other things about it, right? So I wish that I could give like a thumb sideways.
Yeah.
But I know that I need to commit one way or the other. This one's tough. I'm like staring at my notes, trying to fucking
just come to that conclusion of some sort.
Yeah, like something's gonna jump out and be like, "Hey, idiot! Fucking look at this. This is why." You know. So I'm going a tentative thumbs up for right now.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
What do you get?
I'm the opposite of you. I'm strongly thumbs down, and that is staying thumbs down. This is a strong one too on this one for me.
Yeah, I had a feeling that that's the way it was gonna go, and
yeah, I mean,
I'm so close to a thumbs down on this. But I think my initial reaction when I first went through notes on this stuff was thumbs up. So I think I'm gonna stick with that. Like I know for a fact that I could talk myself into a thumbs down situation here, but I don't want to do that.
Yeah. See, because again, for me, this is very similar to the way it felt last week, where there are events that happen in this that I kind of like, of expanding on the idea that Anakin's kind of taking knowledge from his time on Tatooine that maybe no other Jedi would have.
Right.
You know, the idea of space creatures, right? That's all fun. But again, the package in which they delivered all of this,
right,
to me was just, I didn't feel any tension. I didn't like the weird space physics that were happening.
Yeah.
You know. So
I feel like I had less space physics complaints this time.
Yeah, it wasn't as nearly as bad as last week, that's for sure. But they're still kind of in this weird rut of bizarre things that kind of happen from time to time.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm a real big fan of uh the fucking space manta ray whales,
Yeah.
especially this whole bullshit about them being on fucking Ragosa.
Yeah.
And I mean, come on, that's fucking stupid.
Yeah, there's
So
yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
if
Again,
here's what I think I'm gonna do.
yeah.
I'm putting myself as a thumbs up for now.
Yes.
Next week, if I give that episode a thumbs down, this one also changes to a thumbs down.
Okay.
Is that fair? Can I do that?
Yeah, I think that's fair to revisit recent decisions like that. Yeah.
So
Especially because of the way we kind of know that this is kind of a threefer. So
right.
Maybe having the whole picture will help or hurt. You know.
Yeah, I'm hoping that next week's episode, and I haven't revisited that one yet, so I don't even know what's going on with it.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping that it will solidify my thumbs up for this week.
Okay.
Is basically what I'm saying. But I think that if that one gets a thumbs down, it's gotta pull this one down.
Yeah, we'll see. So just to looking forward, next week's episode will be Destroy Malevolence. That's season 1, episode 4. Follows
Correct.
right along after this one.
Yep.
So we'll get to discussing that next week. So let's wrap this one up. So if you need to reach us, that's notthenerdspodcast@gmail.com. That's one way to reach us. Otherwise, Twitter @NotTheNerds. Facebook is @NotTheNerdsPodcast. So,
Correct.
we're available all those places. So wherever you're listening to us, subscribe, please. Give us a review. That'd be great. I believe we're still only on iTunes and Google Play right now. Right? I don't think I've dropped it anywhere else yet. I need to verify where this is going. I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely on those two, and I know for
Yeah.
a fact that you can use some other type of podcast catchers.
Yeah, depending if third-party apps will find it if they're pulling from either of those two sources. So,
Yep.
yeah. But either way, please let us know what you think. Kevin and I are very curious.
Yeah, we haven't received a lot of feedback.
Yeah.
So it looks like the download activity is there. It looks like somebody's listening to us out there.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you live in Texas and you are listening to These Aren't the Nerds You're Looking For, hit me up on Twitter because I want to know who you are.
Yeah. Yeah. There was the determination because we get some geographical information based on Libsyn is the syndication program we use.
Right.
But Kevin pointed out that we had to download in Hawaii, but I think determined that might have been me when I went there for a bit.
Yeah, I didn't know if it was you or a colleague of yours or what.
Yeah. I'm not that potentially that might have been me. Like that might have been set to release and my phone might have picked it up. So, but yeah, it is interesting seeing where these downloads are coming from. So, somebody in Texas, eh?
Somebody in Texas.
All right. Yeah.
So, Texas listener, give me your name. I'll give you a shout. We'll give you a shout out on the podcast.
Let's see. I'm curious if we get somebody to reach out. Yeah. But anyway, so we'll talk to you all next week. It was good talking to you this week, Kevin.
Yeah, absolutely. Real quick, let's give our thanks out to
yes.
Lindsay and Kevin.
Go for it.
Lindsay, our musician, Kevin, our graphic artist. You can contact Lindsay through email, strangefantasymusic@gmail.com, and Kevin's over on Twitter at they call me KDub.
Yep.
So,
yeah, thank you very much. Awesome.
Lorenzo, thanks to you. And I think I would also like to thank my beautiful wife for tolerating me staying up late and talking about the Clone Wars and doing research and all that jazz. So
it's late on my end, so it's so very late for you. Get out of here. Go get some sleep.
We will. We'll catch you next week.
Yep. Bye, everybody.